Oh my goodness. Today we are going to cover the shifties. And I can't wait to tell you about these amazing guys. I mean, they are incredible. When we think of shape shifters, we kind of have, I think, a bad understanding about them. And it's unfortunate because these guys are so different. Let me tell you, first of all, kind of what their job is. So during this process, what happens is something is somehow or another inserted within the bodies of these guys, or it's something that they produce naturally. I don't really know. But the ones I call the healing angels, they do their thing with them and then they send them out. So the next step in this process is that these shapeshifters, and sometimes the other ones who are doing well, they try to give love to the ones who are holding the plasma, and it pops it out of them. And when it pops out, if it just goes into the air, it can be used. It was used to build the world that way. It was used to build the anchor building that way. But now what they're doing is they're seeding the planet with people. So they hold this in for a certain amount of time, and then when they release it, I think it's combined with other things, but they actually are incarnating people that way. That plasma is turning into what I'm guessing are just like light bodies. Because I kind of see a little bit of a difference sometimes, I think, between the ones that have come about that way and the shifties. You guys have probably heard me talk about the funniest person that is a part of this. I've nicknamed him Chompy, okay? Because what they have to do is they go up and they give that person love. And I mean, to me, at first I thought, good Lord, get a room. Because it's my human perception. I didn't know, I didn't know what I know now. So my human perception was seeing these men kissing other men in a way that to me initially looked very romantic. So I'm very uncomfortable. So I'm laying there watching this. I'm like, oh boy, I don't think I should be looking. But these guys make the others feel very loved, and that pops that plasma out. But there is a specific way that they do it, or a timing that they do. So initially when all this started, they were getting me to help them, and I would just do everybody. I mean, it was wonderful to me because they looked like they were sick and I was helping them. So I just did everybody because that was used, again, to build the anchor building and to build the actual world. Now that they're seeding people, they don't want me involved at all, because if, I don't know if it's because when I pop them, it's rougher on them, I think, or if it's because they're not able to concentrate that plasma, to have the right buildup or whatever. So initially, Chompy was one of the little sillies. Oh my goodness. Remember, I told you those little sillies, what would happen? They would come down and just kind of go out in front of me and like show themselves to me, and they would try to be scary. And I remember telling Chompy that he would be scarier if he was a head of broccoli. I don't know. I think maybe, I don't know if it was a test, if maybe they were testing me to see if I would be scared of them. No, I enjoyed them tremendously until the one that I called Angry Angel. If you remember, he was very angry. He was just, I think one of the first times I saw him, he like bluff charged at me, and I was like bluff charging at other people. And I jokingly, and I didn't know what to make of him because I'm like, what in the world, So I even, in one of my videos, had said, jokingly, well, I wouldn't be scared of those in the fourth, but that Angry Angel, I don't know, I might be scared of him. I was just kidding, right? But I guess they had heard me and understood what I said. So then, like for the next 2 or 3 weeks, these little sillies were coming down looking like Angry Angel. And instead of them looking menacing, no, they look like thirst traps. I'm laying in bed and I'm going, oh no, no, you gotta stop. And then I'm like, well, do I make them stop, or do I just let them do their thing? And I just gotta let them do their thing, And I just kind of turned my head away because it was funny. And see, I had seen them put on a dog mask off and on. So I knew that there were masks involved with some of them to change their appearance. But I don't think that's the case with the shifties. I think they're able to actually change their appearance at will whenever they want to. And Chompy, though, he has consistently been a dog until not too long ago. And I'll get into that maybe some other episode. because it's kind of long. But Chompy, I kind of got the impression that he didn't really want to kiss men. He would, he would lay down on him like a dog would. He would snuggle with him like a dog would, and they would pet him like a dog. And it really helped them, and it would help them pop that plasma out. So, he was funny. I mean, just funny. Like I said, always a dog every time I had seen him. And then I saw this other one. Oh my goodness. I got to tell you about him. I've nicknamed him Don Juan because, I mean, he is, all that in a bag of ghost peppers. I mean, hot and spicy. He is something else. I first, I think, paid attention and noticed him because he had a nose that was very much like one of my uncles, who I adored, one of my father's brothers. And he had a nose that was just exactly like my Uncle Dutch. So it brought my attention to him. And then I started watching him, and oh my goodness. I mean, you guys, this guy is on it. I think that if you think about like what their job is, they have to go around and bring love to these other men and make them feel loved enough that they pop this plasma out. And I noticed that they watch everybody very closely because I think they're looking for them to get to that certain specific stage before they intervene. So Don Juan, I saw him go up to a couple of guys one day, and they were like they've been talking, and I think they are like the older shifties. They're the ones who are the more mature shifties. Well, not mature, but just older in age. They seem to be older than Don Juan and Chompy. So they went no like this, and he goes like, oh my gosh, that is the most beautiful response, and it was so cool. I mean, there is nobody that man couldn't turn, I don't think. I mean, he really is something else. And I saw something one day. The way that they do this affection towards each other is more than what we're used to. It's not what we're used to. It's not meant to be physical at all, but it's more than what we would do. Okay. So he went up to this one guy one day. Oh my Lord, this is going to be hard to tell. It was so funny though. Oh my God. But he took it well-mannered. So if he hadn't have taken it like such a good manner, I would not be telling you about it, honestly. But he walked up to a couple of guys, and one of them needed to be popped. And he takes him in his arms, and he's getting ready to kiss him, right? And the guy reaches around and grabs his butt and pulls him in tight. And there were a couple of other guys around that were rolling. And then Don Juan, he was kind of in shock at first, but then he starts laughing too. And I'm like, oh, okay, it's funny. That's good. It's funny. Because at first I was kind of shocked. So I think that overall, all of the people are going to be much more affectionate than what we are used to. We're used to, like if you think about Keanu Reeves, every time he hugs a woman or he's taking a picture with a woman, he doesn't even touch her. He doesn't even touch her waist. And I think that when we get to the new world, I think that might change. I think we might have more affection in general, which, hey, I'm here for it. Speaking of affection, oh my gosh, I did something that was, oh my gosh, it was so bad, you guys. I'm kind of cat-like at times. I really am. In the morning, if I get a good night's sleep, I'm like laying in bed. I'm like, oh, I'm stretching out. I'm like a cat laying in the sunshine. And I get snuggly. I'm not gonna lie, I get snuggly. I make a good night's sleep, and I've woken up, and I'm in my cat mode. And I happened to look over, and there was like a guy with long white hair. That's what they put around me now. I don't know if it's because maybe they have a stronger ability to resist, or maybe, because if I look at them now, I mean, just even glance sometimes, it pops right out. It's very difficult. So I don't know if they put them around me because of that, but, I'm thinking about, my buddies sometimes, Don Juan, I don't know what I was thinking really. So I'm laying there on my pillow, and I see him, I'm like a cat. And the next thing I know, I'm half asleep. I'm trying to go back to sleep, right? Next thing I know, I look up, and oh my God, here's one of the men who he's, I think maybe about the only one of very few that I've seen with a mustache. He's standing up looking at me like What have you done? What did you do? What are you doing? I swear, at first, I didn't even, like, it didn't even register. I'm like, oh, hi. Trying to go back to sleep. Oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. I am. I like snuggled that man. I don't know him. I like snuggled up to him. I mean, that was terrible, really, because I have such love energy. I'm sure it cost him to lose his plasma, and I feel horrible about it. I apologize. I'm so sorry. I really just wasn't even thinking. I just woken up, and my cat kicked in. And oh my goodness, yes, I am embarrassed. I'm still kind of embarrassed about it. I mean, I walked around like 3 days with a red flushed face, apologizing about how bad I felt for doing that. So live and learn. I'm trying to calm myself now. So back to our amazing shifties. There are many that are there, and I don't see all of them. Once in a while, the only way that I can tell is if I happen to see them transitioning as they're moving from one place to another, which is really cool. One day when I was looking down before the building got completely jam-packed, I was looking down the main aisle, and I saw all of a sudden this guy who would give any elf from Lord of the Rings, it would make any of them look ugly. I mean, I looked down, I thought, wow, that man is amazing. He had really long, straight, blonde hair, and it looked like he was wearing like one of the darker robes, and he had his hair pulled back, kind of like mine is now, but it was straight. His hair was straight, and his face looked like one of the angels. I mean, beautiful. I looked, and he was broad, like he was muscular, and I mean, it shocked me, it just kind of floored me there for a second. I thought, wow, he is very handsome. And so then he gets up and starts walking back, and I realized he's with the shifties. He was Don Juan. I was shocked because I thought, yeah, you know what? I can see that now, because he was, I mean, everything that I saw about him, in my opinion, I mean, was what would look like a perfect man. At one time, I saw them walking down the aisle. I saw a guy walking down the aisle, and literally his hair was blonde as he was walking down it, kind of long. It shrunk up and turned to brown, and all of a sudden he had, I think, some kind of glasses on as he was walking towards somebody, and then he ended up shifting into somebody else. And it was the coolest thing to watch. I mean, you guys, when somebody has long hair, like, well, mine's pretty, I trimmed it up so it's a little shorter, but this guy had long hair, probably down to like here, to the bottom of my elbow, and it just shrunk up as he was walking, and then just gradually changed colors. I mean, it's amazing to watch. And I don't know if they turn into something that they think that particular person will find pleasing. Maybe, I don't know. Chompy, like I said, he was a dog like forever. And he has the ability to manipulate things in our dimension also. Not all of them do, but he does. And he's done some silly stuff to me. I'm telling you what, he's got the best sense of humor. He really does. He is so funny. He's rocked my chair back and forth, plays in my hair, but now they're at that very serious time where they are really focused on getting the planet seeded as fast as possible, I think. And I'm going to do another video for you where I'm going to tell you some updates. I think one thing that's really important, I'm going to get it in this video first, is that a gentleman who had been receiving QHHT hypnotic therapy. This is something that Dolores Cannon had created herself. She was a therapist, a licensed therapist, and she created this type of deeper hypnotic trance, so to speak. And this gentleman was on the New World. How about that? And this video I found was from 5 years ago, and he was talking about the New World and how we get there. And he said that, I'll tell you this, that it seemed to him that people were coming by craft, and they were coming by doors. They were coming through, and there were waves. So like there were some people that were there that were greeting the people who were coming to the first, like Jesus was greeting people. And I'm flashing Walmart greeter. And I'm thinking, oh my God, Jesus is a greeter? What? But seriously, he said that Jesus was greeting everybody. And he said that he did see Buddha there, and I forget who else there. But he said that the first wave, there were people who were there who were greeting the first wavers. The first wavers, when they came in, they were the ones who are willing to help. You know, they're the ones who understand what's going on. Me, you guys, we understand what's going on. So they were there as the first wave, willing to help. The second are the people who are just waking up, but who are committed to changing themselves. As long as they agree that they will be committed to changing who they are from the inside out and working on themselves, then they can come. They didn't want to have a third, but if they need to have a third wave, then they will have a third wave. And I don't know, I felt like this was clicking with me, you know, everything that he was saying, except he said he didn't see any structures. Now, of course, I've watched the anchor building now for, what, a year, I guess? Maybe not quite, no, probably 6 months or so they've had the anchor building built. So I've watched that, but I don't know, it could be like on an isolated part of the planet or whatever. If they have to do a third wave, then they will. Apparently there are going to be ETs who are going to be a part of this as well. Now this gentleman made it, that video was 5 years old, and he said, because she asked him, she said, well, when do you see this happening? He said, 5 years is what I'm hearing, is 5 years. So again, based on that, I hate to give, you know, like, I want to hope that it's right around the corner. I want to hope that it's going to be next week. I'm ready, you know, but I don't know that that's what's going to happen. Now, I have heard also that there's going to be more disclosure, direct disclosure from the ETs themselves, because the government is just trickling things through. And I have something to talk about that too, but now I have to wait for the other video. So back to the shifties. These guys, if you think about it, they have to be incredibly loving. I mean, because that's their whole job, is to give love to these people to help them pop this out. Can you imagine what kind of person they have to be? I mean, to me, they would have to be just incredibly special, loving people to spend their focus hugging on people and giving them love and making them feel loved and happy. I mean, I am just so incredibly impressed with them and what they do. And it is a shame that our society does look at shapeshifters as being something negative. That needs to change, because these guys don't deserve that. They deserve lots of praise and appreciation. I mean, that's the way I feel about praise and appreciation, because the job that they do, it must be very hard. I mean, emotionally, nobody's giving them love. You know, they're giving it to everybody else. And so emotionally, I would think it has to be a huge challenge. Now, I have seen others throughout the building who are not quite as easygoing and loving as Chompy and Don Juan. I have seen a couple of them really lose their cool. And I don't think, though, that they are, I have seen them shift. I've seen their appearance shift, but I've not seen them working on others. I've not seen them being the ones to actually help others pop this plasma, which is a good thing, because they're kind of grumpy. A couple of them, they're really grumpy. They got some attitudes sometimes. But, you know, no judgments. It's got to be so stressful for them. You know, it really does. I mean, the things that they are doing and how hard they're working, I cannot imagine the stress that's on them. Now, one of the shifties, the one that I refer to as Mr. Shifty, the one that is older, I had seen him initially, I think, working on some of the guys. And I've seen this man, I mean, his whole heart and soul into it. He works so hard. He's running back and forth from person to person. He's pushing the the trolleys out, like, actually they look like church pews, and they're a collection of them. So he pushes them out. I mean, this man was working seriously hard, very hard. Now, for you and I, this has been like, what, 2.5 years. I'm wondering if it's been longer for them. I'm wondering if their time is even different than what it is here. Because I have noticed that Mr. Shifty, the one that I consider the oldest of, I'm thinking is probably the oldest one of them, I have noticed a big change in him from the time that he started until recently. And it could be maybe he's doing a shifting thing, and that's what I'm seeing. But when he started, he seemed very, very enthusiastic, energetic. He was very thin, moving back and forth, getting it done. And I think he came right after the supervisor was fired. I think he came not long after that. So now, though, when I see him, it looks like he's gained weight and like he's aged. I mean, like maybe 10 years or so. I mean, based on our standards, who knows? He could be 300 years old, or he could be 30. I mean, there's no way really of telling. Their lifespans are different than ours as well. So now what he does is sometimes when these new lives come in, they're not fully formed yet, or they're little, like children. They're young children. And I have seen him caring for them until they grow up. So that's another thing that makes me kind of go, I've watched a couple of them actually grow up. One in particular, who is a shifty, and I'm not sure if I've seen him recently, because I think once they complete that growing up process with Mr. Shifty, then they move on and they do a job. They do their job. These guys, and this one in particular, was there a bit longer, I think, than some of the other ones were. But this guy, he was very different from the other ones that I've seen as children. He looked to me like somebody who had been neglected and kind of malnourished. He was very thin. His hair was very thin. I mean, for a small child to look very skinny and scraggly and, their hair to be thin, it looked like, to me, like a malnourished child. So eventually, he stayed with Mr. Shifty, and I'm not sure if he's still with him or not. I think I see him once in a while, but I don't know if he's with him anymore. But he did eventually grow up and grow out. And I think the last time I saw him, it looked to me like he had like a full head of hair and like he was looking really healthy. And there's another one with Mr. Shifty now who looks to me like a teenager. He's tall and thin, and he was one of the children. And he has kind of like long blonde, wavy hair, like a dirty blonde, wavy hair. And he will switch in and out to a dog and different ones. He's still not, I don't think he's been assigned anybody as of yet. I think that he's still hanging out with Mr. Shifty, because several of them do hang out with him. One of the things that they also do, I think, because I think I had seen Chompy do it, like turn into something that almost looked like a dragon, a long dragon part, and looking over the people, checking them out, getting like a closer look. So they might be able to do that. Okay, so now for the good part. I have seen them without their shifty appearance on. I have seen what they look like originally. And I'm thinking that they don't show that original appearance very often because, again, their job is to love up on these guys. And let's say that, a couple of the guys become very attached to one of them emotionally. If they see that guy later, if they see Shifty later, and, it could cause problems. It really could. So I think that's part of why they are shifty, why they can change, is, of course, it benefits the person that they're working on if they kind of know what that person likes, like if they are more, inclined to have feelings for somebody who looks blonde or looks dark-haired or looks like a dog, maybe that's the kind of affection that they like to have. And I'm not saying anything like the dog, like, I'm not saying like bestiality, okay? I'm not saying anything like that. I'm just saying, I love dogs. I have 2 dogs, and one of them is a great big Rottweiler mix, and I hug him like a human. And in the morning, sometimes he won't even eat his treats until I hug him, full body hug him. I give him a lot of love, and he gives me a lot of love back. So, that would work for a lot of people. Somebody, that look like a dog, because we love dogs, right? So, I have seen, like I said, a couple of them without their shifty suit on. What I want to tell you about that is, I have not seen him, so I don't really know what happened to him. He used to give me a hard time, and I'm just gonna tell you. I don't know if he understood or if I didn't understand him or what was going on, but he would go out on the tracks with the group of people, and he would take care of them while they were out there. And I'm telling you, he was very good at his job. when they came back, everybody looked good, which is not true of many of them. And I don't know, it could be that they were just doing something different. But he never asked me for help. He always took care of his people by himself, and he got very upset that a couple of the others were asking me for help to pop them. I look at it this way. I'm not your judge. I'm not judging you. If you ask me for help, you know what? I know what it's like to need help and have nobody help you, have nobody that you can depend on, to be stuck in something and you really just need a hand and you don't have anybody to help you. So I would never do that. I don't make judgments. If somebody asks me to help them do something, then I do it. You know, it's just simple. I do it. Be like Nike, just do it. So I just do it. But this guy, I found out later, I figured out what it was. He hated the fact that I was helping the others. Now, I don't know if there's some sort of, reason, something that it does to them that's not good, and he didn't want that to happen, or if he didn't feel like they should be getting help when he doesn't ask for help. I don't know. Who knows? I can't hear them, so I can't read their minds, and I can't tell a lot of times what in the world they're thinking. So if somebody asked me for help, I would help them. And the difficult part of that is, though, that I can't see very well. I'm looking through a dimension. And sometimes I can see very clearly, too clearly, honestly, because I pop people by accident. And then sometimes, it's so obscure and so difficult, I can't see it. So this young man, like I said, was giving me a hard time. And when part of the builders left, I don't know if you guys remember, but when the world was finished, when the actual new earth was finished, before they put extra people in it, a group of the ones who had worked on the world came to say goodbye to me. Oh God. It was killing me because I had been with them since the very beginning. So they came to say goodbye to me. While I was standing, now this was like the middle of the night kind of, actually it was more like 4 a.m. I hadn't slept. Somebody walked up behind me and just kind of stood there looking at me. And honestly, it looked like the shifty to me that goes out on the trolley. But I said hi, but he was just standing there, not moving, just kind of looking at me. And he was very slim. He wasn't, like I said, I'm 5'7", so he was probably 5'3". He wasn't very tall. And to me, he looked like what you would call an elf. He was slim. I didn't know about ears, but slim, very cute young man. Looked very young to me. I don't know. He could have been 30 he could have been 15 or 50. He looked very young, like 14, 15 years old, very young. But then he had an incident that happened with one of the two senior shifties, and it was terrible. And so I saw him, I think, one time right on a cart after that, but I've not seen him since. So I don't know if he's changed his appearance or if he went back to wherever he was because of what happened. So I can tell you that with him, I never saw any shape from him it was always the same shape. I don't think I ever saw him shapeshift. But I know that he was a part of that group. At one point, he was wearing like this white fluffy ring around him. And I think that might be like the guys who are new, who are in training or young or whatever, because eventually he didn't wear that anymore. And I did see another one wear that white collar one time, and then he ended up letting go of the white collar. So like I said, it might be some kind of indication that they are, that they're new. So, Chompy. It blows me away. Now I've seen Chompy, I've seen Don Juan, and I think I've seen a couple of others, but I don't know because Mr. Shifty, the one who is in charge, him and I have had some disagreements. We've had some issues because, again, the way I look at it is I don't judge anybody. If somebody asks me for help, I help them. That's just who I am. And I have explained that to them over and over. And I have said, look, this is between you and the person who's asking me for help. Stop putting me in the middle. Because you're putting me in the middle. You're getting mad at me because I'm helping them. But they're asking for help. So if you don't want me to help them, you need to take it up with them. They're the ones who are there. And I tried to find out who was in charge. I said, how about the person who's in charge? Just tell me. Nobody would admit that they were in charge. God, there have been some frustrating times. So he has been teaching some of these young ones how to pretend to be chompy. And they will come up to me trying to pretend to be chompy. And some of them have even gotten his behavior patterns down perfect to where I couldn't tell if it was chompy or this other guy. So every time they would come up, and they would go, because they wanted help. That was their nod. Yes, we need help. And I would watch him, and I would watch him go back to Mr. Shifty. So I'm like, okay, that's not chompy. So I guess he doesn't need help. What is this? And then I figured out what it was, is that Mr. Shifty was sending them constantly up to me. Like they were pretending to be chompy or they were pretending to be somebody else. So we got to, and by that point, Chompy had stopped asking for help. He really hadn't even been asking for help at that point. So I think, I don't know, I think that they moved him because I didn't really see Chompy very much, which was really sad because he is funny to watch. He really is. He is so silly that he's got this really funny personality and the guys love him. I mean, you can see like if he hasn't been around for a while, they just eat it up. They love it. They love seeing him, and he's the puppy. So Chompy, when he's not the puppy, these guys are very handsome. At least the two. Actually, I would say I think Mr. Shifty has shown me his original appearance also. Very handsome. They're because I rarely ever see anybody in color. The one guy who was flashing the one time, I saw him in color. He had the dark brown skin and the dark brown hair. And another person who visited had these really wild reddish orange colored lips. I mean, very bright. So I don't see colors very often. But with these guys, they all seem to have very dark hair, like black hair. And some of them have very light irises. Like I would have to say that they would be like a light gray, light blue, light green, something like that. Very pale color because you can tell there's no there's no difference. There's not enough difference to think that they would be, like dark eyes. But I did see one of them one time have what looked like dark eyes. Now, Don Juan wears like dark sunglasses, so I can't really see his eyes, but his face is very handsome. Chompy looks to be a little bit younger maybe than Don Juan, also very handsome. To me, it looks like their skin color, based on the shade of gray, looks like their skin color might be a little bit darker than some of the others, like maybe like a Middle Eastern kind of complexion, I'm guessing. Could be like the guy who was flashing. Could have like a chocolate brown complexion. Like I said, they are very handsome guys without any of their shape-shifting abilities taking place. And so I almost kind of think like, boy, that is so unfair. Here they are, good-looking guys anyhow, and then they shapeshift into these gorgeous men, or in Chompy's case, a dog. I've seen him be a man before too, and he's handsome in his man form. But they have a very healthy look about them. They have kind of long hair. Well, you would expect that if they've been gone away without a haircut, without a barber, for a couple of years. They all have kind of long hair. It all looks, well cared for. They look well cared for. Healthy size. They're a little on the thin side sometimes, but not like skinny. Some of the big guys are really big and they look like they're, healthy size, but I don't know. Because the big guys wear the robes, most of those wear the white robes, so I'm not really sure. And they change sizes, and oh my gosh, we've got so much to learn. It is going to be amazing. I mean, I am really looking forward to learning more about them because how do they do that? Is it something that they wear? Do they have some kind of a device? I kind of wondered with Don Juan, could he maybe be wearing those sunglasses? Could that be like affecting his appearance? Is that part of it? I really don't know. But one other thing, when the guy was going through the QHHT therapy, he said that the new world was extremely bright, that even though it was so bright, it didn't like hurt your eyes or anything, but he just noticed that it was very bright. And a lot of these guys do wear what looks like sunglasses to me. And I think I told you guys one day I woke up with a migraine and they put me right this window where they go in and out of. They have another door also, but the window is like a loading bay, if you will. You can see it is so bright. I mean, sometimes when I have my eyes closed, that window is brighter than when I open my eyes. I mean, it's hard to explain, but it is so bright. It's almost like a bright white light sometimes. Then it's a gold light other times. So I think the gentleman said that he saw that it was more of a golden appearance to the light than the other. But that's the shapeshifters. They are so much fun. I mean, I really hope that they get to continue with their shifty ways when we get there, because I mean, they are a trip. And like I said, back to the appearance also. Here's something that I've been thinking about that's kind of wiggled my noodle, got me thinking, is that when we take footage of them through the veil, oftentimes I will see that it looks distorted. Like it looks like it could be a person, but their face looks a little distorted, and they look like they have like dark brown skin, and everybody around them has dark brown skin, not just them. And then sometimes I have gotten a few images, but again, to me, they look very distorted. I think it's the angelic group that I'm telling you about with the robes and the white floofy hair. Oh my goodness. I mean, their hair is amazing. But I think I've gotten pictures of them, and they look extremely distorted in those photographs. Like their face would be kind of funny and like a cartoon character of what they really are. So it kind of got me thinking if maybe when we are getting this footage through the veil, if it is distorting the image. So, because what I see when I see these guys are just, like I said, skin color is a little tricky because some of them look like they could be a little darker skinned, and some of them, all the way up to very, very light skin, luminous all over, really. So I'm starting to wonder if we're not getting good images of them from our footage because it's distorted as it's going through the dimensional veil. We're getting pictures through the veil. And if you think about it, I always tell people that taking a photograph of a Sasquatch is like taking one of those old Polaroid cameras down to a racetrack and taking a picture of a car. Because the energy, that car is moving so fast, it's blurry. It's just a blur because the aperture is so slow, right? So when we take photos of these different people, their vibration, their energy is high. So I see a lot of it in my room tonight too. They're everywhere. I mean, my whole house is just jam-packed. They're really working hard bringing people in. So when you take a photograph of like the Sabe are a good example, but also the fairies, lovely fairies, and the others, their energy is going so much faster. So our cameras, while they've gotten very good, they're still not good enough to get a clear image. And there could be something in that veil that causes distortion. And that's what I'm thinking some of this is. Not all of it, because, some of it is so obviously very different from anything we've seen. Like that being, I've told you guys about, that looks to me like it has like a crocodile kind of dinosaur kind of head, and it's a very big 7 to 9 foot looking being compared to things in the environment. Looks incredibly scary, but it seems to be the most loving kind. I mean, there's people crawling all over them, and they've got the sweetest smile. I don't think that is distorted so much. I think that probably is pretty close to what that person looks like. But some, I can see the distortion of their facial features, and like I said, in some areas everybody will be like a dark chocolate brown, and it doesn't look right. It just looks off, like something's not right. Now, if there's one that's standing with chocolate brown skin, and there's another one that's standing beside it that has very pale white skin, and the level of clarity is similar between the two, then I'd say it's a pretty good chance. I mean, it doesn't mean that there's not a shadow or something over the one with the chocolate skin. It just means that I think there's a pretty good chance that is an accurate representation of kind of their appearance. Now, I've seen people who literally have like a blue glow around them, almost like an electrified blue glow. It's like, wow, it's really cool to see. I really wish I could just share all of that with you guys. All I can do is tell you about these fantastic people and the things that are happening. I talk to people all the time about this, and I originally was talking to a good friend of mine out in South Dakota. Hi, Todd. And I told Chad, I said, look, one of two things is the truth here. Either I am that crazy, or it's all real. And I'm going to tell you guys honestly, it would be a whole lot easier if I was a crazy person. It really would. And there are times when I think, could I be like hallucinating this stuff? I mean, I feel lucid. I don't feel like a crazy person, but could I be seeing this? And the thing is that then I go back and I look at the footage and I'm like, well, my camera doesn't hallucinate. My phone camera, my video, all that stuff, they don't hallucinate. So I know I have film of that. I have film of them in my house. One of the cutest little beings I've ever seen is this all black being, and he had little rectangle eyes, and I haven't seen him in forever. But when the first night the shadow guys, that I realized the shadow guys were here, he jumped into bed like he was seeking comfort with me. So, and I was talking with somebody, I said, the thing is, this has been going on for 2.5 years now. This summer will be 3 years. Actually, I've known about all this now for 3 years, but really got it doing this full time. It's probably been about 2.5 years since I started trying to figure out what in the world all of this was. And in 2.5 years' time, if this was something like schizophrenia, like I was seeing things, or let's say that brain cancer, don't get me wrong, I have thought of everything. I've really tried to think this out. And I think that if it was brain cancer, brain tumor, something like that, it would have taken me out by now, or I would have had some kind of really obvious thing like stroke symptoms. If it was schizophrenia, then I would already be like wandering out in the street, throwing my clothes off, screaming as I'm walking down the street. So I really have thought about these things because this has been just a crazy journey. I'm a humble person, and I never had anything special happen to me, really. I had some, unusual quirks, like I had the ability to move energy around when I was young, and I studied some parapsychology classes, and because I felt things, but nothing really crazy. I never saw a UFO. I really didn't even know that the Sasquatch were real, the Sabe. I had no idea they were real. My dad finally accidentally told me, but I'd seen signs that could only point to that. So I'd had nothing like this. I was not a ghost chaser. I was like, live and let live. I never had, like a ghost walk into my house. I saw something run up front of me one night when I was driving home from college. I thought I was about ready to fall asleep, honestly. And it looked like something ran out in front of me, and it kind of woke me up, but I have no idea. I might have fallen asleep. And, maybe that was my brain waking me up. So for me to go from that into all of this, I have done my due diligence to try to figure out if there's anything else that would explain this. Because I know that it's very hard on people. It's hard on me too. I'm going to be honest. It's hard on me to keep waiting. Because when you know that something beautiful and amazing is on the other side, it's hard to keep waiting. And I think I have figured out why the government didn't want this information to get out. It finally dawned on me today. The reason why they didn't want it to get out is because if people know that within the next few months, a year, whatever, that we are going to go, those who are good people, higher vibration, who want to work on themselves, who want to live in that peace, love environment, they know, if all those people know that this is going to happen. I had heard one YouTuber telling people back in August, September, to start spending money on themselves. Why are you worried about, paying your bills and all that stuff? Because we're not going to be here much longer. Get things that make you happy. One hand, I understand that. Get things that make you happy, right? I get that. But you cannot shirk your responsibilities in this society You can't do that, because if it does get out and everyone knows 100% this is where we're going, we're going to another world, where things will be so different. Finally, we will get to be the people we were meant to be. If people know that, they're going to stop paying their mortgages. They're going to stop paying their bills, and then society is going to collapse before we even get a chance to go over. It would be a horrible, horrible situation. So that, I think, is why they were shadow banning my channel. Like I said, I don't think it was YouTube at all. I 100% know that it was some sort of government agency. I know it in my heart and soul. It was some kind of government agency that was doing that, because, the SUV coming by, and then I blast it, right? And all of a sudden it's not there anymore. It don't come by anymore. But I go on my YouTube homepage, and there's all these creators on my page. I've never even seen them before, but they all live in my area within like 35 minutes or so of where I live. My whole, and was that a message? I've had them following me, all that, but they were never aggressive. So I'm like, whatever with you. But then it clicked on me today what the significance of that is. And it is really, really important that we do all continue to pay our bills. I got to be honest with you, for the last year and a half, 2 years, actually longer than that, when Logan was little, my youngest son, he was born with a lot of health issues, right? And I mean, I had to work like a dog just to keep that kid alive. He was born with so many issues. And I worked very, very hard on him. Finally got him stabilized. He could read sight words by the time he was 3 years old. He had no idea what they meant, but he could read them, because I did Your Baby Can Read system with him. I taught him phonics. I mean, I worked with this child. He could count to 100, but he was 3. He loved to learn, so it wasn't that hard, really. But I really worked hard on him. And then I started noticing that every time I would pick up my resume, I kid you not, I would pick up my resume, something would happen to one of us. One of us would become very ill. He had a epilepsy scare. They thought maybe he was having seizures. So you have to wait this time to get him in. And, I could not take him to a babysitter. There was no way I could have taken him to a babysitter. It would have been devastating for him. And just because he really needed that one-on-one attention. So then myself, I lost my gallbladder, I had a hernia that had to be fixed. I had a tumor removed, which was a major surgery. Carpal tunnel on both my hands, broke my foot, broke my leg. I mean, like, every single time I would think about getting a job, it would be one of these things that would happen. And at one point, I said, God, if you're doing this because you don't want me to work, please stop picking on Logan. Make it me. Make it me. Make it me. Logan never got sick anymore. It always ended up being me, something, like I said. So the other day, it's been very difficult to do this job with no financial help whatsoever. I mean, I'm a pretty frugal woman, but even I, with all the inflation that's hit, there's no way I can make ends meet every month. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to have to get a job. They don't need me right now. They're not doing anything. They don't need me. So if they don't need me, I should be able to get a job and work, right? Because I have no furnace. My furnace doesn't work. I have no stove. My stove blew up. I mean, I get around it, don't worry. I get around it, but it's still, there's things that need to be done. My truck needs work again, and I just don't have the money to do it. I don't. So I had thought about, even, do I go to Rumble so that more people can see this, and maybe then I would make a little bit of extra money for like food, groceries or gas or truck repairs or whatever. And I thought, I can't count on that. And, there's no guarantee that other people would enough people would see it, plus it takes a while, I guess. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go on snagajob.com and see if I can find like some little part-time work, part-time job. And now I have been knitting my head off lately. And I've made a lot of hats, and I'm going to sell them somewhere. I don't even know yet. When I get everything together, I'm going to sell them. So, so I looked on Snagajob, just looking to see, could there be like some kind of job or whatever I could do. Do you know, that night when I went to bed, the shifties came up to me left and right, and they had me heal like 6 to 8 people that night. And they have been completely 100% hands off. do it. Don't touch anybody. I mean, I have been going to bed and like darting my eyes. I can't sleep very well. Darting my eyes around so that I don't cause them, because one quick little glance and it causes them to pop. I mean, it's unreal, and it's so crowded. I have no place to look. So I have to try to visualize and go inside so that I'm not causing them problems. And the older Mr. Shifty, I don't know if he just doesn't get that, if he doesn't understand that that's what happens, or if he's just ugly and a little mean, to be honest. Because he will send them up to me, you know, and I'm like, I'm not doing anything. I'm just laying here trying to go to sleep. I had it out with him one night. Oh my God, I just had enough. I have limits too, you know, because this is very stressful. What I have been doing is extremely stressful. It's not that I can't do it. It's not that I don't want to do it. It's just stressful. So, he was coming up to me, you know, he's sending people up to me saying, no, no, no. And I mean, it's so significant. Like I said, even the angel, thank God, one of the angels would come up once in a while and put like some kind of cover over me that would help block this love energy from, and it still, if I looked at them too long, boom, it would pop their stuff. But it helped. It was helpful. And oh my God, I appreciated it. But they don't do it every night. I don't know why, but they don't. So I was not trying to do it at all, but he was very insistent. No, no, no. And I'm like, I'm not, you know. That night though, the night that I looked up snagajob.com, then all of a sudden they want me to heal or pop these people. I think it's another, don't get, well, you know what? I got a truck that needs a lot of work again. I have no stove, I have no heat, and you don't want me to work. I mean, I get that if you don't want me to work, but for God's sake, I don't know, maybe they gotta follow me around. That's what I'm kind of thinking. Maybe they have to like stay with me for some reason or whatever, because supposedly I'm supposed to do something else when all of this occurs. So, I don't know. But I do know that they don't seem to want me to work. But I'm like, you're killing me. You know, we're cold. As you can see, we're cold. I'm like, I gotta do something. So I've been knitting. And I don't know where, like I said, I don't know where I'm going to sell them. But I'll let you guys know in case anybody wants a hat. They're really cool. I mean, I've made some beautiful, beautiful hats. So just, you know, just beanies, like really nice, thick, warm beanies that you will never be cold with these beanies. And the scarves turned out really beautiful too. But I figured that way, at least I'm not going out. They don't have to follow me. The only thing I'm going to have to do is run to the post office to mail his stuff out. So they will stop. I just don't know, you guys. But I have to kind of think that based on what that guy said, it was 5 years ago. And he said that he was seeing that it was like 5 years in the future. So I really, Brussel Raphael, hi Brussel. I've not even checked my email in so long, you guys. I love you. Please be patient with me. I understand why I haven't checked my email. It's just too much. I'm too stressed out right now. That's the thing, because I'm trying so hard not to cause any problems for them so that they can be as efficient as possible. My son has been so sick. He's not seen his father since October, and I would love more than anything else to take him over there anyhow. But his father is very ill, and if he gets sick, it could be devastating. So when Logan is sick, he has to stay with me. And just the gravity of everything has really been, you know, very stressful. It's been, you know, a big challenge. And I have not checked that email. I have not looked at it because it just, I know it's going to be so full. I'm going to be so overwhelmed. And I can't take it right now. I just can't take it. So I've been knitting my little happy self as much as I can. And I have also been working really hard on trying to find information that would help me to be able to learn telepathy or do something helpful, because I get they told me that there's something that I have to do, something more that they need me to do, but I don't know what it is, and I don't understand them. I don't understand, and sometimes like this thing with Mr. Shifty, I feel like if I was able to communicate with him, he would understand. And I've tried to explain to him, I've tried to explain to him over and over that if they could just give me one place to look, to put my glance at that was safe, then I wouldn't bother anybody. I would just look at that one spot and go to sleep. but they don't do it. And the worst thing is, I will find, let's say at a little bit of a distance, I'll find somebody sitting in a chair, right? And I'll look at their back or their shoulder, and I'm like, okay, I finally be able to go to sleep. And then the next thing I know, that back or that shoulder turns into a face because I've shifted into another dimension. It feels like the Twilight Zone, you know? Another dimension, far, far away. I just see different people from the different dimensions. So it shifts into that other person, and then I'm like, oh my God, here we go again. I've popped somebody because I've looked them in the eye. Look me in the eye. My silly's gotten the better of me tonight, I think. Okay, I love you, and I will see you soon. Bye.